about to show you the story of Antigone. That dark-haired girl sitting alone, staring straight ahead, seeing nothing, is Antigone. She is thinking that the instant I finish telling you who's who and what's what in this play, she will burst forth as the dark, tense, serious girl who will have to rise up and face the whole world alone. Alone against the world and against Creon, her uncle, the king. Another thing she is thinking is this: she is going to die. Antigone is young. She would much rather live than die, but there is no help for it. When you are on the side of the gods against the tyrant, of man against the state, of purity against corruption, when, in short, your name is Antigone, well, there's only one part you can play, and she will have to play hers through to the end. Mind you, Antigone doesn't know these things about herself. I know them because it is my business to know them. That's what a Greek chorus is for. All she knows is that Creon won't allow her dead brother to be buried, and that despite Creon, she must bury him. Antigone doesn't think, she acts. She doesn't reason, she feels. And from the moment these lights went up, she began to feel that inhuman forces were at work, whirling her out of this world, snatching her away from her sister, Ismene, whom you see smiling at that young man, making her an instrument to the gods in a way she cannot fathom, but will faithfully pursue. You've not seen inhuman forces at work? You will, tonight. That young man smiling at Ismene, at the gay and golden Ismene, is Haman, the king's son, Creon's son, the apple of the tyrant's eye. Antigone and he are engaged to be married. You wouldn't have thought she was his type. He likes dancing, sports, competition. He likes women, too. Now look at Ismene again. She is certainly more beautiful than Antigone. She is the one you'd think he'd go for. Well, there was a ball one night. Ismene wore a new evening dress. She looked radiant. Haman danced every dance with her. He wouldn't even look at any other girl. And yet, that same night, he went running to go in search of Antigone, found her sitting alone like that, kneeling there, and he asked her to marry him. She looked up at him out of those solemn eyes of hers and said, sort of sadly, yes. That was all. And, well, here is Haman expecting to marry Antigone. He won't, of course. He didn't know when he asked her that this world wasn't made to hold a husband of Antigone, and that this princely distinction was to offer him no more than the right to die sooner than he might otherwise have done. That gray-haired, powerfully built man sitting lost in thought with his little page at his side is Creon the king. His face is lined. He is tired. He practices the difficult art of a leader of men. Back when Oedipus was king and Creon was no more than the king's brother-in-law, he was different. He used to buy music, collect rare manuscripts, was a kind of art patron. He used to while away whole afternoons in the antique shops of this city of thieves. But Oedipus died. Oedipus's sons died. Creon's moment had come. He took over the kingdom. Let me tell you something about Creon. He has a tendency to fool himself. This leader of men, this brilliant debater and logician likes to believe that if it were not for his sense of responsibility, that he would step right down from the throne and go back to collecting manuscripts. But the thing is, Creon believes he can rule just as well as any man of action can, and he's quite certain that no god nor any man can tell him a thing about how to rule the common people. Creon has a wife, a queen. Her name is Eurydice. There she sits, the gracious lady with her crocheting, next to the old nurse who brought up the two girls. There she will go on crocheting all through the play till time comes for her to go to her room and die. She is a good woman, a worthy, loving soul, but she is no help to her husband. Creon will have to face the music alone with his little page, who's too young to be of any help to him. Now let's see, who else? That pale young man leaning against the wall is the messenger. Later on, he will come running in to announce that Haman is dead. He has a premonition of catastrophe. That's what he's brooding over. That's why he won't mingle with the others. As for those three pasty-faced card players, they are the king's guards. They chew tobacco, one smells of garlic, another of beer, but they're not a bad lot. They have children who are afraid of them, wives they are afraid of, and they're troubled by the little day-to-day worries that beset us all. At the same time, they are policemen, eternally innocent no matter what crimes are committed, eternally indifferent, for nothing that happens can matter to them. They are quite prepared to arrest anybody at all, including Creon, should the order be given by a new leader. All right. Well, that's the lot. Now for the play. Oedipus, who had 2 daughters, Antigone and Ismene, had also 2 sons, Eteocles and Polynices. After Oedipus died, it was agreed that the 2 sons would share the throne, each to reign over Thebes in alternate years. But when Eteocles, the elder, had reigned a full year and time had come, he refused to yield up the throne. There was civil war. Polynices brought up allies, 7 foreign princes. In the course of the war, the foreigners were defeated, each in front of the 7 gates of the city. The 2 brothers met in combat and killed one another just outside the city gates. A reign of terror has begun. Creon is king. Creon issued a solemn edict that Eteocles, on whose side he was to be buried with pomp and honors, while Polynices, the younger, was to be left to rot. The vultures and the dogs would bloat themselves on his carcass. And above all, any man who attempted to give his body decent burial would himself be put to death. It is against this blasphemy that Antigone rebels. What is to Creon merely the climax of a political purge is to Antigone a hideous offense against God and man. Since the beginning of time, men have recoiled in horror at the desecration of the dead. It is in this spirit today that we suspend battle in order to bury our dead, in order to bury even the enemy dead.
Where have you been?
Nowhere. It was beautiful. It was all pink whenever I went out. Now you wouldn't recognize it. You'll have to get up earlier, nurse, if you want to see the world without color.
Well, it was pitch black when I woke up. I went to your room to see if you had flung off your blanket, and you weren't there.
The whole world was asleep, breathless, waiting. I can't tell you what a roaring noise I seemed to make as I went up the road, so I slipped off my sandals and I went into the field.
Well, you'll do well to wash your feet before you go back to bed, miss.
I am not going back to bed.
Don't be a fool. You need your sleep. And here's me getting up to check to see if you haven't flung off your blanket and finding your bed cold and nobody in it.
Do you think it would be like this every morning? This exhilarating to be the first out of doors?
Morning, my grandmother. It was night. It still is. And now, my girl, you will stop trying to squirm out of this and tell me where you've been and what you've been up to.
You're right. There wasn't a person out of doors who thought it was morning but me.
Oh, my little flibbity-jibbity. Can't imagine what I'm talking about, can she? Now go on with you. I know the game. I was a girl myself once and just as pig-headed and hard to handle as you are. You went out to meet someone, didn't you? Deny it, if you can.
Yes, I went out to meet someone.
You have a lover.
Yes, nurse. I have a lover.
Oh. Well, that's very nice now, isn't it? Such goings-on. And you, the daughter of a king, running out to meet lovers. And we work our fingers to the bone for you. We slave to bring you up like young ladies. You're all alike. All of you. Even you, who never used to stop and primp in front of a looking glass or smear her mouth with rouge or dindle and dandle and make the boys ogle you and you ogle back. Now, I used to say to myself, I wish this one were a little more of a coquette. always wearing the same dress, hair tumbling around her face. And I would think none of the boys will ever look at her while this meanie's around, all cute and curled and neat and tidy. No, I'll have this one on my hands for the rest of my life. And now you see, just like your sister, after all, only worse, a hypocrite. God save us, I took her in when she wasn't that high, and I promised her mother I'd make a lady of her. And don't you go thinking this is the end of it, my young'un. I'm your nurse. You can play deaf and dumb with me. I don't count. But your Uncle Creon will hear this, that I promise you.
Yes, Uncle Creon will hear of this.
And we'll see what he has to say when he finds out you go wandering alone o' nights, not to mention Haman, for the girl's engaged, going to be married. Going to be married, and she hops out of bed at 4 in the morning to meet someone in a field.
Please, nurse, I want to be alone.
Oh, and if you so much as speak of it, she says, I want to be alone.
Nanny, don't scold. This isn't the day you should be losing your temper.
Not scold indeed. So along with the rest of it, I'm just supposed to like it. What would your mother say if she were here? I'll tell you what she'd say. She'd call me old stupid, not knowing how to keep my little girls pure. And we spend our life making you behave, watching over you like a mother hen, and then snoring in our bed at 4 in the morning. You let them slip out into a field. And I would just have to stand there dying of shame if I weren't dead already. And all I could do was just not dare look her in the face and say, that's true, Your Majesty, all that you say, it's true.
Nanny, don't cry. You'll be able to look Mama in the face when it's your time to see her, and she'll say, good morning, nurse. Oh, and thank you for my little Antigone. You did raise her so well. She knows why I went out this morning.
Not to meet a lover.
No, not to meet a lover.
Well, you have a queer way of teasing me, I must say, and not to know when she's teasing me. I must be getting old. That's what it is. Now, your sister was always the sweet-natured one, but I took it into my head that you were the one that was fondest of me. And if you loved me, you would tell me the truth. You would tell me why when I went to tuck you in, your bed was empty, wouldn't you?
Nanny, don't cry. Don't cry. I didn't do anything tonight to send tears on the little gullies of your face. I'm pure. I swear I have no other lover than Haman. If you wish, I swear never to have any other lover than Haman. Save your tears, nurse. You may still need them, and when you cry like that, I become a little girl again. I mustn't be a little girl today.
Antigone, what are you doing up at this hour? I've just been in your room.
The two of you, up before the kitchen fires have even been started. I mean, do you think it's decent for the daughters of the king? And look at you with no wraps on. I'm going to have the both of you with colds on my hands before I know it.
Nurse, please go. It's not cold, really. Summer is here. Will you go get me some food? It would do me so much good.
My poor baby. Her head's swimming, what with nothing on her stomach, and I stand here like an idiot when I could be getting her something hot to drink.
Aren't you well?
Yes, just a little tired because I got up too early.
I couldn't sleep either.
Oh, it's meanie. You ought not to go without your beauty sleep.
Don't make fun of me.
I'm not. Truly. Seeing how beautiful you are makes everything so much easier for me. Wasn't I a little beast when we were younger? I used to fling mud at you and put worms down your neck, and I tied you to a tree and cut off all your hair. Oh, your beautiful hair. How easy it must be never to be unreasonable with all that smooth silken hair so beautifully placed around your head.
Why do you insist upon talking about other things?
I'm not talking of other things.
Antigone, I thought about it a lot.
Have you?
I thought about it all night long. Antigone, you're mad.
Am I?
We can't do it.
Why not?
Creon would have us put to death.
Of course he will. But we are bound to bury our brother. What do you think we can do to change that?
I don't want to die.
I'd much prefer not to die myself.
Antigone, listen to me. I may be younger than you, but I always think things through and you don't.
Sometimes it's better not to think too much.
I don't agree with you. Oh, I know it's horrible. I know Polynices was cheated out of his rights, that he made war, that Creon took sides against him and he was killed. And I pity Polynices just as much as you do. But all the same, I sort of see what Uncle Creon means.
Uncle Creon is king now. He has to set an example.
Example. Creon orders that our brother rot and putrefy and be mangled by dogs and birds of prey. It is an offense against every decent human instinct, against God and man. And you talk about examples.
There you go, off on your own again, refusing to pay the slightest heed to anybody. At least you might try to understand.
All I understand is that a man lies, rotting, unburied, and that man is our brother, and he must be buried.
But what can we do to change it? He's stronger than we are. He's king. He made himself king.
I'm not listening to you.
You must. You know how Creon's mobs work. His mobs will come running, howling as they run. 1,000 arms will seize our arms. 1,000 breaths will breathe into our faces. Like a single pair of eyes, 1,000 eyes will stare at us. We'll be driven through the tumbril of their hatred, through the smell of them, and their roaring laughter. We'll be taken to the scaffold for torture, surrounded by guards, their idiot faces all bloated, eyes squinting, hands clean washed for the sacrifice. And we shall suffer, for they are like trained beasts who go through the motions they've been taught without caring about right or wrong. And we shall suffer, we shall feel the pain rising in us like a shrieking voice, just rising and rising, and oh, I can't, Antigone!
Well, you have certainly put a lot of thought into this.
I thought about it all night long. Didn't you?
Yes?
I'm an awful coward, Antigone.
Well, so am I. But what's that got to do with anything?
But Antigone, don't you want to go on living?
Go on living. Who was the first out of doors every day because she loved the feeling of the cool morning air on her bare skin, or the last to bed every night because nothing less than infinite weariness could wean her from the lingering night?
Antigone, my darling
For
sister.
pity's sake, don't. You say you've thought it all out, the howling mob, the torture, the fear of death. They've made up your mind for you, haven't they?
Yes.
All right. They're as good of an excuse as any.
Antigone, be reasonable. It's all very good for men to have ideas and die for them, but you're a girl. Antigone, you have everything in the world to make you happy. All you have to do is reach out for it. You're getting married, you're young, you're beautiful.
I am not beautiful.
Oh, yes, you are. Not the way other girls are, but it's always you that the little tough boys turn and stare at until we turn a corner. And it's you that the little girls stare and stare at when we pass them on the street.
Little tough boys, little girls.
What about Haman?
I will see Haman this morning. I will take care of Haman. Go back to bed, Ismene. The sun is up. Polynices is as well guarded as if he had won the war and were sitting on his throne.
What are you going to do?
Come, my dove, come to your breakfast.
Go back to bed, please.
If I do, promise me you won't leave the house.
All right, I promise.
Come along. Breakfast, my dear.
I'm not very hungry, nurse.
My darling, where's your pain?
Nowhere. But you must sit with me and keep me warm and safe as you used to. And hold my hand as if I were sick in bed and you were sitting next to me.
My lamb, what is it that's eating your heart out so?
Nothing. I'm just not sure I'm strong enough to do what I must.
Not strong enough to do what, my kitten?
Nothing. Nurse, it is good that you are here, so I can hold your hand so calloused and prompt to ward off evil. You are very powerful, Nanny.
What do you want me to do for you, my baby?
There's nothing for you to do other than place your hand on my cheek like this. There. I am not afraid anymore.
There.
Nanny,
Yes?
my dog, Puff.
Well,
You are never to scold her again.
dogs that dirty up a house with their filthy paws deserve to be scolded.
And you are to talk to her. Talk to her often.
Me? Talk to a dog?
But you are not to talk to her the way that other people talk to animals. You are to talk to her the way that I talk to her.
I don't see why the both of us have to make fools of ourselves. As long as you're here, one is enough.
Well, there was a reason why I couldn't go on talking to her.
Couldn't go on talking to her? Why couldn't you go on talking to her? What kind of poppycock is this, I'd like to know?
And if she got too unhappy and moaned and stuck her nose under the door the way she does when I've been out all day, then well, perhaps the best option is to have her mercifully put to sleep.
What has gotten into you this morning? Running around in the darkness, you won't eat, you won't sleep, and now she wants her dog killed?
Nanny, Haman is here. Please go now, but don't forget what you promised me. Haman, I am so sorry we quarreled last night. Forgive me, it was all my fault.
You know I've forgiven you. You had hardly slammed the door, your perfume still hung in the air when I had already forgiven you. You stole that perfume. From whom?
Ismene.
And the face powder, and the rouge, and the dress.
Ismene!
And in whose honor did you get yourself up so glamorously?
I'll tell you. What a fool I was to waste a whole evening, a whole beautiful evening.
We'll have other evenings, my sweet.
Perhaps we won't.
And other quarrels, too. A happy love is full of quarrels.
A happy love, yes. Haman, there's something I must tell you.
Yes?
And don't laugh at me, be serious.
I am serious.
And hold me tight. Tighter than you've ever held me. I want all your strength to flow into me.
There, with all my strength.
That's good. Haman, you know, the son we were going to have when we were married?
Yes, my dear.
You know I would have protected him against anything in the world, don't you?
Yes.
You don't know how I should have held him in my arms and given him all my strength. He wouldn't have been afraid of anything in the world. His mother wouldn't have been very imposing. Her hair wouldn't have been very well brushed, but she would have been strong where he was concerned. Stronger than any other mother in the world. You know that, don't you, Haman?
Yes, my dear.
And you know that you would have had a real wife.
I have a real wife.
You love me. You're sure of it. You're sure you loved me that night.
What night, my dear?
And that night, when you came around the corner and you saw me sitting there, it was me you were looking for? Not some other girl, and not in your secret heart of hearts? Have you said to yourself it was Ismene you ought to have asked to marry you?
Antigone, my darling, you are idiotic.
You do love me, don't you? Your arms so warm against my back, they aren't lies, are they? This strength, this warmth that I feel as I stand close to you, they aren't lies.
Antigone, my darling, I love you.
Not pretty. I'm sallow. Ismene is pink and gold, and she's like a fruit.
Antigone!
I'm sorry. I'm ashamed of myself. But on this day, this important day, tell me the truth, I beg you. When you remember that I am to belong to you, do you get this feeling that a part of you is being hollowed out inside and that a piece of you is just dying?
Yes, I do.
That's how I feel. Now, there are two things I must tell you. And once I have told them to you, you must leave without asking a single question, no matter how strange they may seem, no matter how much they may hurt you. Swear that you will.
What are these things you are going to tell me?
Swear first that you will leave without saying a single word, without so much as even looking at me. It is the last mad wish you will ever have to grant me.
I swear it.
All right. First about last night. You asked a moment ago why I wore Ismene's dress and rouge. I'll tell you. It's because I was stupid. And I wasn't sure that you loved me, and I wanted to be your wife before...
Antigone?
No, wait. That's why, and you laughed at me, and we quarreled, and I flung out of the room. The reason why is because, well, I love you that way very much. And also because, oh, my beloved, I am going to cause you such a lot of pain. I did it because I will never be able to be your wife, never.
Antigone!
No, you swore! You took a solemn oath. Now go. Tomorrow everything will make sense. Before tomorrow even, this afternoon. If you please, Haman, go. It's the last thing you can do for me if you still love me. Well, it's over for Haman, Antigone.
I can't sleep. I'm terrified. I'm so scared that even though it's daylight, you'll still try and bury Polynices. Antigone, you know I love you. You know I want you to be happy. And you remember what he was like? He was our brother, of course, but he was a bad brother. He was like an enemy in this house. He never thought of you. Why should you think of him? What if he does have to lie rotting in the field? It's Creon's doing, not ours. Don't try to change things. You can't bury Polynices. I won't let you.
You're too late. When you saw me this morning, I had just come back from burying him.
Private of the guards, you say? One of those standing watch over the body? Show him in.
Private Jonas, 2nd Battalion.
What are you doing here?
It's like this, Chief. As soon as it happened, we said, I gotta tell the Chief about this before somebody else spills it. Yeah, he'll want to know right away. So we tossed a coin to see which one of us would come up here and tell you about it. Because you don't want to leave the body without a guard, right? I mean, there's 3 of us on duty, guarding the body.
The body? What's wrong about the body?
Chief, I've been 17 years in the service. Volunteer, 2 citations. I know my business. I know how to follow orders. Ask anyone in the battalion, and they'll tell you. Give Jonas an order. He'll carry it out. That's what he'll do. That's what they'll tell you. Jonas, that's me. That's my name.
Is the matter with you? Why are you shaking?
By all rights, it's a corporal's job, Chief. Yeah, I've been recommended for a corporal, but it didn't go through May. It was supposed to go through, but with all this red tape.
Stop chattering and tell me what is the matter. If something has happened to that body, I will break all 3 of you.
Nobody can say we didn't keep our eyes on that body, Chief. We had the tough watch. You know how it is. It's the end of the night. It's 2 o'clock. Your eyes are like lead, and you got a crick in the back of your neck, and there's shadows and the fog's rolling in. It's a fine watch that they gave us, Chief, and me, 17 years in the service. But we was on our feet, all of us. Anybody who says we were sleeping is a liar. For first place, it's too cold. Second place, yeah. Yes, Chief. Well, I turn around and I look at the body. I mean, we wasn't only 10 feet away from it, you know? But that's how I am. I'm just keeping my eyes on it. They'll tell you, Chief, I was the first one to let out that yell.
What for? What is the matter?
The body, Chief? Someone had been there and buried him.
My God.
Wait, it wasn't much. You understand? With us there, it couldn't have been. It was just a little cover over the body, enough to hide it from the buzzards.
Could it have been a dog scratching up the earth?
It's kind of what we hoped it was, Chief, but the earth was a spread over the body, just like a priest would tell you should do it. I mean, whoever did that job knew what he was doing, all right.
could have dared? Is there any indication who it could have been?
Not a thing, Chief. Maybe we heard a footstep. Can't be certain. Of course, we started right in searching. A corporal found a shovel. It's a kid's shovel, no bigger than that, all rusted over and everything. We thought maybe a kid did it.
Kid. I broke the back of this rebellion, and like a snake, it is coming together again. Polynices' friends with their gold blocked by my orders on the banks of thieves, leaders of the populace allied to envious princes, and those temple priests always looking for a bit of fishing in troubled waters. I can imagine what he's like, this kid, a real baby-faced killer of 14, creeping through the night with a toy shovel under his jacket. Though, why shouldn't they have corrupted a real child? There is something now to weaken the minds and soften the hearts of the people. Very useful, very touching. A real baby-faced killer who would spit at the guards who tried to kill him. A precious, innocent martyr. The blood of a child on my hands. They must have an accomplice in the guard themselves. Look here, you. Who knows about this?
Chief, only us three. We tossed a coin and I came right up.
Very well. You will return on duty. When the relief squad comes from the barracks, you will send them back. Not a word of this to anyone. If another attempt is made to bury the body, you will uncover the body, make an arrest, and bring the prisoner straight to me. You are all guilty of neglect of duty, and you will be punished. But if the story doesn't get round Thebes that the body received burial, you won't be shot.
Chief! Listen. We never told nobody. I swear. I mean, anyhow, how could I? I've been up here with you. I couldn't be with them. And with you, too. Suppose my pals spilled into the relief. That wouldn't be my fault, would it? Chief, you're my witness. Chief, I've got 2 kids. Chief, I couldn't be with them, and here too. If anybody talked, it wasn't me. Chief, you're my witness. Yep. Yep.
If the story doesn't get round Thebes, you won't be shot. A child. Come here, my boy. Would you defy me with your little shovel? Oh, you would too. You would. A child.
And now the spring is wound up tight. It will uncoil of itself. That is what is so convenient. In tragedy, the least little turn of the wrist will do the job. Anything will set it going. A glance at a girl who happens to be lifting her arm to her hair as you walk past. A feeling on a fine morning that you'd like a little respect paid to you that day, as if it were as easy to order as a second cup of coffee. One question too many idly thrown out over a friendly drink, and the tragedy is on. The rest is automatic. You don't have to lift a finger. The machine is in perfect order. It has been oiled ever since time began, and it runs without friction. Death, treason, and sorrow are on the march, and they move in the wake of storm, of tears, of stillness, every kind of stillness. The hush when the executioner's axe goes up at the end of the last act. The unbreathable silence when the 2 lovers, their hearts bared, their bodies naked, stand face to face for the first time in the darkened room afraid to stir. The silence inside you, when the roaring crowd acclaims the winner, so that you think of a film without a soundtrack, their mouths agape with no sound coming out of them, a picture that is no more than a clamor. And you, the victor, already vanquished in the desert of your silence. That is tragedy. Tragedy is clean. It is firm. It is flawless. It has nothing to do with melodrama, with wicked villains, persecuted maidens, avengers, gleams of hope, and 11th hour repentances. Death in a melodrama is really horrible because it's never inevitable. The dear old father might so easily have been saved. The honest young man might so easily have come in with the police 5 minutes sooner. In tragedy, nothing is in doubt and everyone's destiny is known. That makes for tranquility. Tragedy is restful, and the reason is that hope, that foul, deceitful thing, has no part in it. There isn't any hope. You're trapped. The sky has fallen down on you, and all you can do about it is to shout. Now, don't mistake me. I said shout. I did not say groan, whimper, complain. That you cannot do. What you can do is shout aloud. You can get all those things out that you always wanted to say, or you never thought you had it in you to say. And you don't say these things because it will do you any good. You know better than that. You say them for their own sake. You say them because you learn a lot from them. In melodrama, you argue and struggle in the hope of escape. But in tragedy, where there's no temptation to try to escape, argument is gratuitous. It's kingly. The play is on. Antigone has been caught for the first time in her life. Antigone is going to get to be herself.
Come on now, miss. Give it a rest. Oh, the chief will be here in a minute and you can tell him all about it. I don't want to know what you were doing there. All I know is my orders. People always have excuses and I can't afford to listen to them. If we had to listen to every person who wants to tell us what's wrong with this country, we'd never get our work done.
Tell your guards to get their filthy hands off of me.
Filthy hands, huh? What about dirt and corpses and the like, huh? You didn't have a problem touching them, did you? Their filthy hands? Take a look at your own hands.
They're hurting me. I'm not gonna try to escape. I am the daughter of Oedipus. I'm Antigone.
King Oedipus's little girl. What do you know about that, huh? Say, the night watch never arrests a lady, but she says, oh, you better be careful. I'm sleeping with the police commissioner. I guess you lost your shovel, didn't you? Had to go at it with your nails the second time. Say, I turned around for about 5 seconds, and there she is, blown away like a hyena. And when I went for her, she bit and kicked straight for my eyes with them nails. She went, hollering something fierce like, I'm not finished yet, let me finish. Keep hold of her, and I'll see she keeps her face shut.
Don't worry, she won't get away this time.
Say, we're gonna get a bonus out of this, huh? Well, what do you say we plan a party, huh? The three of us.
At the old woman's behind Market Street.
Suits me. Sunday'd be a good day, and we're off duty on Sunday. What do you say? We bring the wives?
Nix. Invite the wives. They always want to put the damper on. Let's have a little fun this time. Say, you imagine an hour ago, the three of us planning a party, the way the old man was interrogating me. I thought we'd be lucky to get away with being docked a month's pay. I was scared, I want to tell you. Huh?
Are you sure we're gonna get a bonus?
Yeah. Something tells me this is big stuff.
You know what's his name in the 3rd Battalion? He got an extra month's pay for catching a fireboat.
If we get an extra month's pay, I vote we throw a party at the Arabians.
You're crazy! He charges twice as much for liquor as anybody else in town. Unless you want to go upstairs, huh? Can't do that at the old woman.
say, we ain't gonna do so hot no matter how you take it. You get an extra month's pay and then what happens? The whole outfit knows it and your wife knows it too. Who knows, they might even line up the whole battalion and give it to you in front of everybody.
We'll have to see how it goes. Of course, if they do it out in the barracks yard, that means women, children, everything.
I should like to sit down, please. Let her sit down,
but keep a hold of her. Huh?
Antigone, what is this? Take those handcuffs off. What is this?
It's the watch, Chief! We all came this time.
Who's guarding the body?
We sent for the relief.
I told you to send the relief back to barracks and not a word of this to anyone.
Chief, we never said anything, but acting on your orders, we made the arrest and brought the party in.
Where did these men find you?
Right by the body.
What were you doing near your brother's body? You knew what my orders were.
What was she doing? Chief! She was digging in the dirt with her nails. She was trying to cover the body up all over again.
Do you realize what you're saying?
Chief, you can ask these men here. After we reported to you, we went back and we uncovered the body. With the heat and the sun, it was beginning to smell. So we moved it up on a rise to get it in the wind. You wouldn't expect any trouble in broad daylight, but we figured we better keep our eye peeled just the same. So, about noon, what with the heat and the haze and the smell, I wasn't feeling none too good. So I went over to my pal to ask for a chew, and I barely had time to stick it in my mouth and say thanks. When I turn around, and there she is, just digging away. And wouldn't you think, when she saw me come running, she'd beat it out of there? It's not her. She just kept right on digging. And when I went for her, she bit, kicked, and hollered something like, I'm not finished yet. The body's not covered yet, and like that.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true.
Well, we uncovered the body as best we could, Chief, and then we sent for the relief, but we didn't tell them nothing, and we brought the parties in so you could see her, and that is the truth, so help me God!
Was it you who buried the body the first time in the night?
Yes. With a toy shovel we used to take to the seashore as children. It was Polynices' own shovel, that's why his name was carved into the handle of it. But then these men took it, so the next time I had to do it with my hands.
She was digging like a wild animal. Matter of fact, first that time we see her, the heat and the haze, everything, my pal says, hey, that's a dog. A dog, I said, that's a girl, that is, and it was.
Very well. Show these men to the anteroom. You three wait outside. I may want a report from you later.
Should I put the cuffs back? Yeah.
No. Had you told anyone what you meant to do?
No.
Did you see anyone on your way, coming, or going?
No, nobody.
You're quite sure of that?
Yes, quite sure.
Very well. Now listen to me. You will go to your room. You will say that you're not well, that you haven't left since yesterday. Your nurse will do the same, and I will dispose of those 3 men.
Uncle Creon, there is no reason to kill those 3 guards. You must know I will go right back out and do it all over again.
Why did you try to bury your brother?
I owed it to him.
I had forbidden it.
I owed it to him. Those who are not buried are bound to wander endlessly and find no rest. Everybody knows that. I owed it to him to unlock the house of the dead where my father and mother are there waiting for him. Polynices has earned his rest.
Polynices was a rebel and a traitor, and you know it.
He was my brother.
You knew the punishment.
Yes, I know the punishment.
You did you act by chance on the assumption that because you are Antigone, because you are a daughter of Oedipus, that you were somehow above the law?
I did not act on that assumption.
Because if you had acted on that assumption, Antigone, you would be deeply wrong. No one has a more sacred obligation to observe the law than those who make the law. You are a daughter of lawmakers. You are a daughter of kings. You must observe the law.
Had I been a scullery maid in my kitchen when that edict was read aloud to me, I should have washed the grease from my arms and gone out to bury my brother in my apron.
What nonsense. If you had been a scullery maid, you would have had no doubt about the seriousness of my edict, and you would have been satisfied to weep for your brother in your kitchen. But no, because you come of royal line, because you're my niece and we're going to marry my son, you thought I shouldn't have you killed.
You are mistaken. I never doubted for an instant you would have me killed.
The pride of Oedipus, Oedipus and his headstrong pride all over again. I can see your father in you, and I believe you. Of course you thought I should have you killed. It would seem to you the natural climax of your existence. For him, as for you, human happiness is meaningless and nothing less than a cozy tea party with death and destiny would satisfy your passion for torment. You come of people for whom the human vestment is like a straitjacket. It cracks at the seams, and you spend your whole lives wriggling to get out of it. The happiest hour of your father's life came when he listened greedily to the story of how, unknown to him, he had killed his own father and dishonored the bed of his own mother. Drop by drop, word by word, he drank in that dark story that the gods had destined him, first to live, then to hear. How avidly people drink in such a tale when their names are Oedipus or Antigone. And it's so simple afterwards to do what he did and put out his eyes and take you, his daughter, begging on the highway. Well, you listen to me, Antigone. Those days are over for Thebes. Thebes deserves a king without a past. My name, thank God, is only Creon, and I stand here today with my feet on the ground and my hands in my pockets, and I have decided, so long as I am king, I will merely devote myself to writing a little order into this absurd kingdom, if that is possible. Now, don't think to me that being a king is romantic. It is my trade, and like anyone else, I must work at it and take it seriously, and it is not all beer and Skittles. But if someday some wild and bearded messenger from some wild and distant valley is to show up here and try to convince me that my parents aren't my parents, or that my wife, Eurydice, is perhaps my mother, I shall do him the kindness and send him back where he came from. And I shan't let a little matter like that persuade me to make my wife take a blood test or the police to discover whether my birth certificate is forged. Kings, my dear, have more important matters than private feelings. Hand you over to be killed. What nonsense. I have more important matters for you. You will marry Haman, and you will give him a sturdy boy. God knows, Thebes needs that boy more than it needs your death. Now, you will go to your room, do as you've been told, and I will make sure that the guards' mouths are shut. Don't annihilate me with those eyes. I know you think I'm a brute, and perhaps consider me prosaic. But the truth of the matter is, stubborn as though you may be, I've always been fond of you. Don't forget, the first doll you ever had came from me. Where are you going?
You know exactly where I'm going.
What game are you playing?
I'm not playing games.
Antigone, don't you realize that if apart from those 3 men, anyone finds out what you have tried to do, it will be impossible for me to avoid putting you to death. Right now, I can save you, but only if you give up this crazy purpose. 5 minutes more, it will be too late.
I have to go bury my brother. Those men have uncovered him.
What good will it do? Other men are guarding the body, and if you cover the body with earth again, the earth again will be removed.
I know all that. But that much at least I can do, and what a person can do, a person ought to do.
Tell me, Antigone, do you really believe all that flummery about religious burial? Do you really believe that a shade of your brother is condemned to wander forever homeless if a little earth is not thrown upon his body to the accompaniment of some priestly abracadabra? Have you ever listened to the priests as they're mumbling their formula? Have you ever watched their dreary, sullen faces as they prepare the dead for burial? Swallowing half their words, skipping half the gestures, hustling the body toward its grave for fear that they might be late for lunch.
Yes, I have seen all that.
And did you not think that if someone you really loved lay dead under the shuffling, mumbling ministrations of the priests, that you would cry aloud and beg them to leave the body in peace?
No, Creon, there is God and there are his priests, and they are not the same thing. And you are not free to do with men as you wish, even when they are dead.
And you are gonna stop me.
Yes, I am going to stop you.
You must want very much to die. You look like a trapped animal.
Don't feel sorry for me. Do as I do. Do your job. But if you are human, do it quickly.
I'm trying to save you, Antigone.
You are king, and you are all-powerful, but that you cannot do.
Oh, you think not?
Neither stop me nor save me.
Prideful Antigone.
All you can do is have me killed.
Have you tortured, perhaps?
Why would you do that? To see me cry? To have me beg for mercy? To say as you wish and then start all over again?
You, listen to me. You have cast me as the villain in this little play of yours, and for yourself as the heroine, and you know it, you damn little mischief maker. But don't drive me too far. If you were one of the tyrants that Greece is so full of, you would be lying in a ditch with your tongue pulled out and your body drawn and quartered. And yet, you see that I hesitate to call for the guards, and you keep on arguing. You taunt me and take the offensive? What are you driving at, you she-devil?
Let go of my arm, you're hurting me!
I will not let you go. I should have done this from the beginning. I was a fool to waste words. I may be your uncle, but we are not a particularly affectionate family, are we? Are we? What fun this must be for you, to laugh in the face of an all-powerful king, a king who has killed men in his own day, men more pitiful than you, and yet who is still soft enough to try to save you.
Now you're holding my arm too tight. It doesn't hurt anymore.
I shall save you yet. God knows I had more important things to do today than waste time on an insect like you. But urgent matters can wait. I will not let politics be the cause of your death. For the truth of the matter is, this is nothing but politics. The mournful shade of Polynices, the decomposing corpse, the weeping in hysteria, masquerading as heroism. Politics. Nothing but politics. Look here, you. I may be soft, but I'm fastidious. I like things clean, well scrubbed, ship-shape. Don't think that I'm not just offended as you are by the thought of that meat rotting in the sun. In the evening when the breeze comes in off the sea, the smell fills the palace and it nauseates me. But I refuse to even shut my window. It is vile. And I'll tell you something I wouldn't tell anyone else. It is stupid, monstrously stupid. But the people of Thebes need to have their noses rubbed in it a little bit longer. My God, if it was up to me, I would have had your brother's corpse buried long ago as a matter of public hygiene. But if the feather-headed rabble I am to govern are to understand what's what, the stench has got to fill the town for a month.
You are a loathsome man.
Oh, I agree. It is my trade that forces me to be. Now, we could argue whether I ought or ought not to follow my trade, but once I agree to take on the task, I must do it properly.
Why do you do it at all?
My dear, I woke up one morning and found myself king of Thebes. God knows there were things I loved in this life more than power.
Then you should have said no.
Yes, I could have said no, although I thought that would be cowardly, like a workman who knows a task needs doing and refuses to take it on. So I said yes.
So much the worse for you. I said no. I can say no to anything I think vile. Whereas you, because you said yes to your lust for power, all that you can do now for all your trappings and your guards and your crown, all you can do is have me killed.
Listen to me.
If I want to. I don't have to listen to you if I don't want to. There is nothing that you can tell me that I do not already know, whereas there are 1,000 things that I could tell you that you do not know. You sit there drinking in my words. Why isn't it you haven't called in your guards? I'll tell you why. You want to hear me out until the end.
You amuse me.
No, I don't. I frighten you. That is why you talk of saving me. Because everything would be so much easier with a docile, tongue-tied Antigone living in the palace. But you are going to have to put me to death today, and you know it. And it frightens you.
Very well. I am frightened. I am scared that if you insist upon it, I shall have to have you killed, and I don't want to.
But I don't have to do things I don't want to do. If it really comes to that, you didn't want to leave Polynices' body rotting, unburied, did you? Admit it. Say that you did it.
I said it already.
And yet you did it anyway. And now, though you don't want to, you are going to have to put me to death, and you call that being a king?
Yes, I call that being a king.
Oh, poor Creon. My nails are broken, my fingers are bleeding, there are welts left on my arms by the paws of your guards, but I am a queen.
Then why not have pity on me and live? Isn't the body of your brother rotting beneath the palace windows payment enough for peace and order in Thebes?
No. You said yes and made yourself king, and now you will never stop paying.
My God, won't you try to understand me? I'm trying hard enough to understand you. Some man had to say yes. Someone had to agree to captain the ship. It had sprung 100 leaks. It was up to the waterline with crime and ignorance and poverty. The wheel was whipping in the wind, and every man-jack on board was about to drown because he was too concerned with the cheap day-to-day traffic of his own life. Was that a time, do you think, for playing with words like yes and no? Was that a time for a man to be weighing pros and cons, wondering if he would lose his own life or his family or his touch with other men? You grab the wheel, you brace the ship in the face of a mountain of water, you shout an order, and if one man refuses to obey, you shoot into the mob. Into the mob, I say. A beast as nameless as the wind, and as nameless as a mountain of water crashing on your deck. The man that keels over might have been someone who brought you a drink the day before, but he has no name, and you, braced at the wheel, you have no name either. The only thing that has a name is the ship and the store. Now, do you understand?
I am not here to understand these things. I am here because I said no to you.
It is easy to say no.
Not always.
It is easy to say no. To say yes, you have to sweat and roll up your sleeves and plunge both hands into life up to the elbows. To say no, you sit and wait. Wait to go on living, wait to die. No is one of those man-made words. Can you imagine if the trees said no to the sap, or if animals said no to hunger or propagation? Animals, they're good, they're simple, they're tough. They move in droves, nudging one another along the path. Some of them keel over, but the rest go on. And no matter how many fall by the wayside, the rest continue bringing young into the world, nudging one another along the same path with the same obstinate will, unchanged as though before.
Animals! Oh, what a king you would be, Creon, if only people were animals.
You despise me. Huh. Strange. Time and again, I had imagined this very conversation with a pale young man I had never met in the flesh. He would have come here for the purpose of assassinating me. He would have failed. And in trying to get out of him why he wanted to do it, with all my logic and power of debate, all I would have gotten from him is, he despised me. Who would have thought that the pale young man would turn out to be you, and the argument would arise out of something so meaningless as the burial of your brother? And yet, you must hear me out to the end. I shall play my part. It's not a heroic one, but I shall play it. I will have you put to death. But first, I want to make one last appeal. I want to make sure that you know what you're doing as well as I know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're dying for, Antigone? Do you know the story to which you are about to sign away your name in blood for all of time to come?
What story?
The story of Eteocles and Polynices. The story of your brothers. You think you know that story, but you don't. No one in Thebes knows that story but me. But I feel you have a right to hear it today. It's not a pretty one. You shall see. But first, tell me, what do you remember about your brothers? They were older than you, so I imagine that they pulled your pigtails and broke your dolls and whispered secrets to put you in a rage.
They were big and I was little.
And later on, when they came home in their evening clothes, strutting like men, they took no notice of you, and you thought they were wonderful.
They were boys and I was a girl.
You didn't know why exactly, but you knew that your mother cried about them, and your father was often in a rage about them. You heard them come home late, slamming doors, laughing, insolent, unruly, and smelling of drink.
Once, it was very early, and I saw them coming home from a night out, so I hid behind the door, and Polynices' eyes were shining, and he looked so handsome in his evening clothes, and he saw me, and he said, "Here, this is for you." And he gave me this big paper flower he had gotten from his night out.
And of course, you still have that flower. Last night, before you crept out, you opened your drawer to look at it, and it gave you courage.
Who told you so?
Oh, silly Antigone with her nightclub flower. Do you know what your brother really was?
Whatever he was, I'm sure you'll say vile things about him.
A cheap, idiotic bounder is what he was. A vile, vicious voluptuary. A little beast with just enough wit to drive a car faster and spend more money than any of his friends. I was with your father once, when Polynices, who had lost a lot of money gambling, came to him and asked him to settle the debt. Your father refused, and when he did, Polynices raised a fist to him and called him a vile name.
That is a lie.
He struck your father in the face, Antigone. It was pitiful. Oedipus sat at his desk with his head in his hands, weeping with anguish. His nose was bleeding, and in the corner, Polynices stood sneering and lit a cigarette.
That is a lie.
When did you last see your brothers alive? When you were 12 years old, that's true, isn't it?
Yes, that is true.
Well, now you know why. Oedipus was too chicken shit to have the boy locked up, but he was allowed to go off and join the Argive army. And the minute he arrived in Argos, the attempts on your father's life began. On the life of a man who couldn't make up his own mind to die and who refused to give up his kingship. One after another, men from Argos slipped into Thebes, and every killer that we caught always ended up confessing who had put him up to it, who had paid him to do it. And Polynices wasn't the only one. That is what I'm really trying to tell you. I want you to know what went on in the back room, in the smelly kitchen of politics. I want you to know what really happened in this drama in which you are burning to play a part. Yesterday, I gave Eteocles a state funeral with pomp and honors. Today, he is a hero and a martyr in the eyes of all of Thebes. The whole city came out to bury him. School children emptied their piggy banks to buy him wreaths. Old men, orating in quavering, hypocritical voices, glorified the virtues of that great-hearted brother, that devoted son, that loyal prince. Well, I myself made a speech, and every temple priest was there with the appropriate show of sorrow on their stupid faces. Well, what else could I have done? People had taken sides in the Civil War. Both sides couldn't be wrong. I couldn't make them swallow the truth. Two gangsters was more of a luxury than I could afford. And yet, this is the whole point of my story. Eteocles, that great-hearted brother, was just as rotten as Polynices. That devoted son had tried his best too to procure the assassination of his father. That loyal prince had done everything to sell out Thebes to the highest bidder. Funny, isn't it? Polynices lies rotting in the sun, while Eteocles is given a state funeral and housed in a marble vault. And yet I have absolute proof that everything Polynices did, Eteocles did too. They were a pair of blackguards, both intent in selling out each other and both intent in selling out Thebes. And they died, like the cheap gangsters they were, over a division of the spoils. But I had to make a martyr of one of them. So I sent out to the Holocaust for the bodies. They were found clasped in one another's arms for the first time in their lives, I imagine, and spitted on each other's swords. The Argive army had trampled them down. I had the prettier of the two corpses brought in for a state funeral, and I left the other to rot. I don't know which is which, and I assure you, I don't care.
Why do you tell me all of this?
Antigone, you hold a treasure in your hands. Life, I mean. Should I let you die victim to that obscene story? Antigone, find Haman, get married quickly. Life is not what you think it is. Life is something else. It's a tool you hold firmly in your hands, a child playing round your feet, a bench you sit down on, in the garden in the evening. People will try to tell you that that's not life, that it's something else because they want to use you. They want to use your strength. Don't let them. The sad truth is that the only consolation we have in our old age is to realize what I have just said is true. Life is nothing but the happiness you get out of it.
Happiness.
Not much of a word, is it?
What kind of happiness do you foresee for me? Paint me a picture of your happy Antigone. What unimportant little sins must I commit before I can sink my teeth into life and tear from it what you call happiness? To whom must I smile? To whom must I fawn over? To whom must I show myself? Who do you want me to leave dying as I turn away my eyes?
Antigone, be quiet.
Why do you ask me to be quiet? You say that life is so wonderful. All I want to know is what I must do in order to say the same thing.
Do you love Haman?
Yes, I love Haman. The Haman that I love is hard and young and difficult to please as I am. But what if what I love in Haman is to be worn away like a stone step by the tread of the thing you call life, the thing you call happiness? If he stops growing pale with fear when I grow pale, or stops thinking I have been in a horrible accident when I am 5 minutes late, if he stops feeling alone in the world when I laugh and he doesn't know why, if he too has to learn to say yes to everything, then no, I do not love Haman.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about. It is you who can't hear me. I am too far away from you now, speaking from a kingdom that you can't get into with your preaching and your politics and your persuasive language. I laugh at you, Creon, that you think that you can change with your platitudes on happiness.
It is your happiness too, Antigone.
I spit on your idea of happiness. I spit on your idea of life, that it must go on and come what may. You are all like dogs who lick everything they smell. If life must be a thing of fear and compromise, if life cannot be free and incorruptible, then Creon, I choose death.
Oh, scream on, daughter of Oedipus, in your father's own voice.
Yes! In my father's own voice, we come from a tribe that asks questions till the bitter end, and we ask them remorselessly. You have just told me the filthy reasons why you cannot bury Polynices. Now tell me, why can't I bury him?
Because it is my order.
The order of a coward king who desecrates the dead.
If you could see how ugly you are shrieking these words.
Yes, I am ugly, and father was ugly too, but father became beautiful. You know when? When all his questions had been answered. When he could no longer doubt that he had killed his own father, that he couldn't doubt that he had gone to bed with his own mother, when he knew for certain that he had to die in order for the plague to be lifted from his people. Then he was at peace. Then he could smile almost. Then he was beautiful. Whereas you, look at yourself, Creon. With that glint of suspicion in your eye, or that crease in the corner of your power-loving mouth. You said the word a moment ago. What was it? The filthy kitchen of politics. That's where you were raised and whelped. In a filthy kitchen.
Shut up, I order you.
You really think you can tell me what to do, cook? You really think you can give me orders?
Antigone, the anteroom is full of people. Do you want them to hear you?
Open the doors! Let's make sure that they can hear me!
Shut up, I tell you!
Antigone!
You? What are you doing here?
Antigone, forgive me. I've come back. I'll go with you now.
Where will you go with me?
Creon, if you kill her, you'll have to kill me too. I went with her. I helped her bury Polynices.
No, you had your chance to crawl on your hands and feet and get caught as a thief as I did, and you refused.
Not anymore. If you die, I don't want to live anymore. I'll do it alone tonight.
You hear that, Creon? The thing is catching. Who knows but who will catch the disease from me next? Oh, you better call in your guards, Creon. Come on, show a little courage. It only hurts for a second. Come on, guard! At last, Creon.
Take her away.
Oh no, Creon! You are out of your mind, Creon. What have you done?
She had to die.
You must not let Antigone die. We shall carry the scar of her death for centuries.
No man was strong enough to persuade her. Polynices was mere pretext.
That is not the truth, Creon. And you know it.
What do you want me to do for her? Condemn her to live? Father! Forget Antigone, Haman. Forget her, my dearest boy.
Mother, how can you talk like that?
I did everything I could. I tried everything. That girl doesn't love you. She could have gone on living for you, and she refused.
Father.
Antigone, she wanted to die. She wanted it this way.
Father, they are dragging Antigone away. You have got to stop them.
I can do nothing.
You
It's
must.
too late. I cannot.
But Father, you are master here in Thebes.
I am master under the law, not above it.
But you made that law yourself, and what you ordain you can repeal. You cannot let Antigone be taken from me.
Haman, you must resign yourself to a life without Antigone. She must die, and you must live.
Live? For what? A life without Antigone? A life in which I am to go on admiring you as you strut about your kingdom? Go on admiring you as you make your speeches and you strike your attitudes? Not without Antigone. I love Antigone. She never struck a pose and waited for me to admire her. Mirrors meant nothing to her. She never looked at herself. She looked at me and expected me to be something. And I was when I was with her. You cannot expect me to not go after her. I will not live without Antigone.
Haman, there comes a day of sorrow in every man's life where he must cease to be a boy and take up the burden of being a man. That day has come for you.
That giant strength, that courage, that massive God who used to pick me up in his arms and shelter me from shadows and monsters. Was that you, Father? Was it of you that I stood in awe? Was that man you?
Yes, that was me.
You are not that man today. For if you were, you would know that your enemies are abroad in every street. You would know that the people revere those gods that you despise. You cannot have Antigone be put to death. She will not have been dead an hour before shame will sit on every Theban forehead and horror will fill every Theban heart. Already the people curse you because you do not bury Polynices. If you kill Antigone, they will hate you.
Silence! My edict stands.
Creon, the gods have a way of punishing injustice.
The gods.
Creon, that boy is wounded to death.
We are all wounded to death.
Chief, the people are crowding into the palace. Please, Creon, I don't want to hear them howl anymore. If you're going to have me put to death, let that be enough. I want to be alone until it's over.
Empty the palace, guards at the gates.
So it's you.
What do you mean?
The last human face I shall ever see. Was it you who arrested me this morning?
Yeah, that was me.
You hurt me.
You didn't have to do that. Did I act as if I was trying to escape? Look, miss, it was my business to arrest you. I did it.
How old are you?
39.
Do you have any children?
Yeah, 2.
Do you love your children?
I don't see what that's got to do with you.
How long have you been in the guards?
Since the war. I was a sergeant. And then I became a guard, but when you become a guard, you lose your stripes.
I see.
Yeah. See, when you're a guard, everybody knows you're something special. You're an old nom-com to take pay, for instance. When you're a guard, you get your pay, but you also get 6 months extra pay, so they make sure you don't lose anything by not being a sergeant anymore.
I see.
Yeah, see? That's what I'm telling you. Now, sergeants, they don't like the guards. Maybe you've noticed how they try to make out like they're better than us. Promotion, that's all that is. Maybe you've noticed with your own boyfriends. It's easy to get promoted in the army. All you need is good conduct. In the guards, it takes time. You gotta know your business and how to write a report and the like of that.
Listen.
Yes, miss?
I am going to die soon.
For instance, when you're in the guards, everybody knows you're a civil servant, but
Do you think it hurts to die?
how would I know, miss? Somebody sticks a saber in your guts and turns around, it hurts.
How are they going to put me to death?
I'll tell you. I heard the proclamation all right. Nothing much gets by me. See, how did that go? It seems they don't want to. In order that our fair city shall not be polluted with her sinful blood, she shall be immured. That means they put you in a cave and then they wall up the cave.
Alive?
Yep.
Oh, doom! A bridal bed, and I'm all alone.
Some duty for them that's got it, huh? Since in the broad daylight on the southeast gates of town, Hades cave, the broad daylight. They thought maybe it was going to be a job for the army, but it looks like it's going to be a job for the guards, huh? Some outfit, huh? There's nothing they can't do. No wonder the army is jealous.
Just a pair of animals.
What do you mean? A pair of animals?
When it gets cold, all they do is lie next to each other to keep each other warm, and I'm gonna be all alone, and I know.
Say, is there anything I can get you? I can call out for it, you know?
You are very kind. As a matter of fact, there is something you can do for me. I need to write a letter, and I need you to deliver it for me after I am dead.
A letter? How's that?
Please, I need you to deliver it for me.
It's as much as my job is worth to go handing letters from prison.
I will give you this ring if you will do it. Please.
Suppose they go through my pockets. I could get 6 months for a thing like that. I tell you what I'll do. I will write it down in this notebook. And you can tell me what to say, and then I will tear out the pages and give them to the party. You see, if it's in my handwriting, it's all right.
No, not in your handwriting. No, the poor dear. I can't.
Hey? No skin off my nose?
No, I will do it. Just be quick. Time is running short. My darling.
Boyfriend, huh?
I had to die. And perhaps you will not love me anymore.
Love me anymore?
Perhaps you would have thought it was easier to have just accepted life.
To accept life?
But I did not do it for myself. But now, I'm all alone and in the shadows, and it's so dreadful here.
Hold on. How fast do you think I can write, huh?
Where are you?
Dreadful here. I am alone.
No. Scratch that out. They have no right to know that. It's as if they saw me when I was naked and they touched me after I was dead. No. No, just write, forgive me.
I scratch out everything you said there at the end and write, forgive me?
Yes. Forgive me. Everything would have been so much easier if it hadn't been for Antigone. I love you.
Been for Antigone. I love you. Is that all?
Yes.
You know, it's a funny kind of letter.
I know. But I didn't do it for myself.
No. Who's it to?
No, but I wasn't finished yet.
Shut up!
It is over for Antigone. Now it is Creon's turn.
The queen! The queen! Where is the queen?
What do you want with the queen? What have you to tell the queen?
News to break her heart. Antigone had been thrust into the cave. They hadn't finished heaving the last blocks of stone into place when Creon and the rest heard a sudden moaning from the tomb. A hush fell over us all, for it was not the voice of Antigone. It was Haman's voice coming forth from the tomb. Everyone looked at Creon and he started howling like a man demented. Take away the stones! Take away the stones! The slaves leapt forth toward the wall of stones, and Creon worked with them, sweating and tearing at the blocks with bleeding hands. Finally, a narrow opening was forced, and into it slipped the smallest guard. Antigone had hanged herself by the cord of her robe. By the red and golden twisted cord of her robe. It was round her neck like a child's collar. Haman was on his knees holding her in his arms, with his face buried into her robe. Some more stones were removed, and Creon went into the tomb. He tried to raise Haman to his feet. I could hear him begging Haman to rise to his feet. Haman was deaf to the sound of his father's voice, until suddenly he stood up of his own accord. His eyes were dark and burning. Anguish was in his face. He stared at his father. And then he struck his father hard in the face, and then he pulled out a knife and he lunged at his father. Creon leapt out of range, but Haman went on staring at him. His eyes were full of contempt, a glance that Creon could not escape. The king stood trembling at the far corner of the tomb, and Haman went on staring at him. And then, without a word, Haman stabbed himself. And he lied down next to Antigone, embracing her in a great pool of blood. I've had them laid out side by side. Two lovers at last and at peace on the morrow of their bridal. Their work is done.
But not yours, Creon. You have one thing still to learn. Eurydice, the queen, your wife.
A good woman?
When she was told of her son's death, she carefully finished her row, then gently set down her crocheting as she did all these things. And she went to her room, Creon, and there she cut her throat. She is lying now where you once went to her when she was still a maiden. Her smile is still the same. One might think she was sleeping.
Yes. They are all asleep. It must be good to sleep.
Tomorrow they will sleep sweetly in the earth, Creon. You who would not bury Polynices today will tomorrow bury Eurydice and Haman and Antigone too. The gods take a hand in every game, Creon, even in politics.
They say it's dirty work, but it has to be done. And if I didn't do it, who would?
Why must dirty work be done, Creon? Hey. Now you are alone.
Yes. All alone. What time is it?
5 o'clock, sir.
What do we have on today at 5 o'clock?
Cabinet meeting, sir.
Cabinet meeting. Well, let's get along to it.
And there we are. All those who were meant to die have died. Those who believed one thing, those who believed the contrary thing, and even those who believed nothing at all, yet were still caught up in the web without knowing why. All dead, useless, rotting. Creon was the most rational, the most persuasive of tyrants, but like all tyrants, he failed to distinguish between the things that belonged to Caesar and the things that belonged to God. Now and again, in the 3,000 years since the first Antigone, other Antigones have arisen like a clarion call to remind men of this distinction. Their cause is always the same: a passionate belief that moral law exists and a passionate regard for the sanctity of human dignity. While Antigone is at peace tonight, she has played her part. A great wave of unrest now settles down upon Thebes, upon the empty palace, upon Creon, who can now begin to long for his own death. Only the guards are left, and none of this matters to them. It's no skin off their noses. They go on playing cards.